Who all is a candidate for therapy, and how do you offer them? Is it in person? Is it on Zoom? A little bit of both? Give me kind of an overview of what that looks like.
Yeah, so everyone is a candidate for therapy. Every member of the family, we offer anyone that we are working with, any family that we're collaborating with, we offer our services to anyone in the system that needs support. So we have worked with children of our clients. We've worked with, husbands, wives, parents, all together, because that system that is in place has facilitated the disease, whether it's mental health or addiction, and it needs restructuring in order to provide a new home for the client to come into.
When somebody signs on to work with you guys, how often are they getting sessions with you?
I would just say like a baseline is that from a therapy perspective, no less than 2 sessions a week. But that's not taking into account that generally I'm talking to clients every day throughout the day because that's how life unfolds, right? But the sessions themselves, no less than 2, but 2 to 3 because it can't be too much either. We always provide as part of our service, so with every intervention, 30 days of case management for the family is included. And with that, we have 1 to 2 days available where we set sessions up with the family. So it's kind of this is what's happening in the program, but then the other session is, and this is where you need to change and do some work so that there's continued growth.
What does your work look like then with the family specifically?
Most families identify their loved one as the problem. And so they think, well, you just work on that person, you just fix that, and then everything will be okay. And generally, there's a sense of resistance or, if I came straight at a family member, usually they're not going to be like, oh, I'm so glad you told me about how broken my behavior is too. So what I tend to do, you have to navigate a little bit, and offer help however that people are able to receive it. So we'll put it that way. But the role that I'm offering is a support role, really. Like, how can I support you as you heal on your side while your loved one is over here doing their work? How can I help you also remember who you were before this disease entered into your home? How can I help you connect to what you need as an individual human being in the world, separate from your partner who is struggling, because so many people lose themselves and become codependent. It's overused, but it's true. If they're happy, then I can be happy. And they forget to even ask what makes them happy. So in doing the work with the individual family members, it's not this is how you need to change. It's what do we need to do to get you well so that you remember what you need in the world and so that you have a voice to hold a boundary. And then as they're doing that same work, you have 2 healthy or 3 or 4 healthy individuals engaging, and then you have a chance at congruent communication versus all the animosity.
Right.
What do you need to heal? Most families want the guidance and support. It's just to what degree they allow us to support them. And then as the client and their family member comes home, it's a whole different level. Because now the snow globe gets shaken up again, right? And now you have husbands and wife back together, and resentments and healing that has to happen there. Kids who are used to walking on eggshells and navigating. So it's just very different phases of therapy.
When it comes to trauma therapy, what is it exactly that we're referring to, and how does it work?
It's a good question. I'll start how I define trauma and how I've defined it with clients. I say to them, anything that you think about as you sit across from me in my office, anything that comes into your mind and then affects your body in a negative way is trauma. If you have a negative somatic response to a memory, a thought, a belief, an experience, then there is some level of trauma and it's stored in your body. So, I mean, we can't assume what trauma is for somebody. I've had clients come in with some pretty horrific stories of sexual abuse as children. And our instinct would be like, oh, like they must have trauma over that. I have learned to ask, because I've had people go, you know what, that really doesn't affect me, but those mean girls at school are destroying me, right? So no, I never assume what trauma is, other than that, yeah, if there's a somatic experience, a feeling in your body that it hurts or is uncomfortable connected to something, then there's a level of trauma connected to that. You know, I'm uncomfortable actually with trauma therapist because I'm just a therapist. And when you say, and for me, I originally identified as a trauma-focused therapist because one of the first modalities that I got really passionate about and was trained in was brain spotting with David Grand. And he was brilliant, and he taught me how to connect the body and the mind and how to do that work. And unlike some others who learned that modality, I didn't jump to that is the only modality. It is just another way in. So I don't put body-based trauma work above cognitive or DBT or families, internal family systems. They are all ways to access an experience. So yeah, it is kind of a buzzword. Technically, I think that anytime we're connecting to somebody with a wound, which why would they be sitting across from us, that there is trauma. Mm-hmm. And we can repair that relationally by sitting across from somebody and having a corrective experience. It can be cathartic by, discussing things. We can poke holes in it cognitively. We can use coping skills with DBT, and we need all of it in any moment, So I'm not just a trauma therapist. I'm a therapist who uses trauma modalities and the such.
What is it about therapy and the process? What is it that really fills your heart, keeps you coming back?
Yeah, purpose, right? That once I acknowledged who I am and how I'm wired and stopped rejecting that. So for example, this was one of my agreements. I was identified from birth throughout my entire life as being too sensitive. And I had shame around being too sensitive. So here's a young girl, a young woman who can feel people the second I'm looking at them and sitting across from them. But that was something wrong about me because people didn't know how to react to that, or it made them uncomfortable, or too much truth came out of my mouth, or I saw too deeply into them and that was scary for them. So as soon as I kind of went through my journey of reconnecting to myself, I decided that wasn't something I wanted to agree to anymore. And that if me being who I was and how I was wired made you uncomfortable, then you could go and not spend time with me. So I think because that's how I'm wired, because I have so much compassion and empathy and love connecting at a soul level, I think that's why I keep coming back. I mean, I love seeing people find themselves and feel joy and take a breath, but there isn't anything else I'd rather do. So this is my chosen career.